We've seen that objects have a special hidden property called prototype. And again, don't be intimidated by those double square brackets. All that means is that in the specification, it's a hidden property. And this prototype is either null or it references another object. And this other object is called a prototype. As a very quick example, let's just create a user object. And we've done this many times before. This user has a name, age, and an online status, so we can determine whether he's currently online or not. And when we console this out and we see the JavaScript construct, you'll notice we've been seeing prototype or underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. And that prototype references another prototype object. And that other prototype object is an automatic object. It hasn't been set up by you and I. That gets set up by the JavaScript engine. And that's exactly why we have these other methods on our objects when we create them, straight out of the box, like toString, value of, and the others that we've even used throughout our examples. But let's jump deeper into this rabbit hole. There's not only one type of prototype in JavaScript, and this causes so much confusion. And it is complicated because it's weird. It's just, JavaScript's one of those languages that have kind of evolved over the years. But through all of this, there's some weird nuances that pop up, and it can be complicated to understand unless you just break it down. And hopefully after this, you'll understand the differences between the two. Okay, so there are two prototypes in JavaScript. One is the full word prototype, and the other one is prototype in square brackets, or what's known as underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. Let's first look at this prototype. This is a special object that is created as a property of all functions, and this happens automatically for all functions. And this is the same object that is pointed to by underscore underscore proto underscore underscore, by that other type of prototype. Which brings me on to the other type of prototype. This is a hidden property on every object that is created, and it can be accessed in script using underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. And I know this can be confusing. So let's just take a step back and let's create an object literal, and let's call it food, and let's set a property called yummy to it, and that yummy has a value of true. So there's our custom food object with one property. Okay, but this time let's create a constructor function, and let's call that carrot, and it just sets this color, which is passed into that function, as a property type. And all this function does is sets a color type to the newly created object. So now we've got our custom carrot function. Let's set the prototype on this carrot to food. What do you think is going to happen now if we go and create a new variable, let's call it carrot, and we use the new keyword to execute that constructor function? Well, remember what happens when we use the new keyword? Well, firstly, it creates a new empty object. Then it will go and it will look at the function carrot. It will then take any prototype on the carrot object and set that as the proto property of the newly created object. Lastly, it then feeds the object into the newly created carrot constructor as the this keyword, and it returns whatever the carrot function returns. To cut a long story short, all it does is it sets the proto property of the newly created carrot to the food object. So, taking a step back, all this means is that prototype is a regular property, and underscore underscore proto underscore underscore is the inheritance of carrot from food. So look at this diagram, let it sink in, and then let me show you one more example before we move on.